Hello, everyone. I wanted to take a couple minutes today to talk to you about the new S7-1200 Gen 2 that's been released and creating a bill of materials for that product line. If you're new to Siemens, there is a tool called the TIA selection tool, and it's got a couple of versions. It's pretty easy to find. Just Google TIA selection tool, and the top, several results will take you right to it. We're just going to start with the top one here because that's going to take us to a couple of options. It's going to say Start TA Selection Tool Cloud. So that's a completely online version. You can do this any unit that you have a browser, come in here and take a look at the selection tool. If you scroll down a little bit, there is an offline version. This one is my preferred version, but with the new 1200 Gen 2, the only option we have is to configure this in the cloud version. So we're going to come up here and select TA Selection Tool Cloud and wait for that to start up for us. And if you're a fan of the offline version, like I am, your interface is a little bit different, but for the most part, it's pretty similar. We get some messages here, and we're just going to jump right into this catalog, and this will automatically start a new project for us in the online version. And we're going to come to the controllers. And if you're in the offline version and you're looking for the 1200 Gen 2, the G2, it will actually show you that in the offline. But when you start trying to configure it, it will say must be configured in the online version, and it will actually force you to take your entire project up to the cloud. So if you're doing a Gen 2 with some other items, maybe you've got some other PLCs, 1500 or something that you're configuring, maybe some ET200 SPIO, different things like that. If you start that offline, you will be forced to bring that entire project up into the online version. Here, we're just starting us from scratch with a new project. So we'll just go ahead and click that Gen 2. It's going to go ahead, create that project for us. Brings us right to this properties page. One of the things I want to point out here, it's not quite as clear as it is in the offline version, but there is the standard failsafe application. So if you are going to do something failsafe with these controllers, at the time of this recording, which is November of 2025, the safety IO is not yet released for the Gen 2, but we do have the safety processors, so we can actually go ahead and do this as a failsafe application and get that safety processor. And from there, we can just pop over to the configure tab. It shows us that general layout that we were going to have. And we come down here, we just click on add module. And we'll go ahead and we'll select the 1214 and just do a DC, DC, DC. It's going to ask us, how many modules. In this case, with a CPU, obviously, we're only going to create one. It does give us that option to select a memory card if we want to. Obviously, with the 1200 line, even with the new Gen 2, the memory cards are optional, unlike in the 1500 where they're required. So we're going to just go ahead and leave that with no memory card, and we're going to insert that module. And then when we want to do, that Gen 2 IO, we do have to come back in here, click Add Module, decide if we want digital analog communication modules. With the new Gen 2, all of the modules are going to be on the right-hand side of the processor. So we can go ahead and click, an input, click Add Module, maybe go ahead and add another digital and do an output. Let's do a relay one just for something different in there. And we'll just, take a look, see what we have. Analog modules, we're going to have an in and an output on those as well. Let's take a look at these communication modules. So we do have an RS-232, 422, 485 module. That is the only communication module at this time. In the Gen 2, there are additional modules, I believe, that they are working on. And hopefully we start to see some of those come out soon. And looks like we have a problem with this. So we do have to have this communication module right next to the processor the way it looks. So if we come in here, we can move that module over one step, go back into that, click that communication module, and add that module in at that point. So there, it does. That's the great thing about using the selection tool is it does prompt you for any of those requirements, whether it's the communication, a module has to be next to the processor in this particular instance. whether or not we have an I/O card. If you're in the 1500 family, it prompts you for the wiring arm, whether you want push-in or screw terminals for those wiring arms, different things like that. So that's one of the reasons I use the TIA selection tool pretty much on a daily basis in my job as a product specialist for E&M. And so once we have that here, we come over here, we've got this project tree. We could add additional groups. We could add additional, our different items that, maybe we want to add a power supply that we want to connect to this unit. And so we come in here, uh, add a new power supply. We can use this filter. This is very similar to the offline version if you happen to have that. And let's just say we want single phase, we want to do 24 volts, and let's just go with a 5 amp one. And it shows us all the different ones. This nice PSU 4200 is a newer power supply from Siemens, just in the last couple of years that one's come out. A nice little unit, so let's go ahead and select that, apply module. When you're selecting the power supplies, you do have to kind of come down to the result and apply that selection to get that added to our list. And so these are kind of in one group. We could add additional groups if we wanted to. If you want to split things up again, like if you're doing multiple PLCs or families, different lines, whatever you're doing, you can put some nice groupings in here. And those groupings really become kind of nice. You see here, we do have an order list. So if I come over to the order list, I can do different things here, group by device, group by hierarchy. So that's kind of like when you have those groups, it kind of splits them up. Here, obviously, with this simple project, it's not going to change too much. We can collapse things and expand things again in this list. But what's really nice here is whether you're in the online or offline version, well, we do have this export button down here. And so we can export this as an Excel list is what I typically do, but you can do it as PDF for a CSV as well. And so that'll be something that, from here where we're in the cloud version, that'll actually create a file that you save on your desktop. But sometimes you might want to come back and maybe edit this down the road. A couple of different options there. If you have an IMAL login or want to create one, you can actually log in to this product. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to show you something different. If I come back to my projects tab, obviously I didn't give this a name or anything, but this is the project I was working in. And I click on this little settings gear here. I get some stuff showing up down here. For starters, the big one is I can download this project and save it locally on my computer. Or I can export it, to TIA Portal or ECAD. So if I want to take this layout and put that directly into the TIA Portal, especially if you got a bigger layout, if I'd configured all the cards, that would be kind of nice to be able to pull those right into Portal. I don't have to go through and do that selection process again. So there are different things here. And then obviously when you have additional projects and stuff like that, you can go in and edit the different projects and take care of all that. But just wanted to give you guys a quick heads up that if you're doing that Gen 2 1200, you do have to go on to the cloud version of the TIA selection tool and do that selection there. And once you have this selection, go ahead and export it as Excel file and send it to your account manager at E&M, and we'll be happy to get you pricing on that. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.